Hi, and welcome to the Wake.Show. Good Monday morning. I hope everybody is doing well. I am Chris Fisher, along with Samantha. How are you, Samantha?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm swell. Thanks for asking. I think one day I call you Samantha, the next day I call you Sam.
No worries.
All right. We'll get to stuff you should know today and run down some of the topics. Let's go through those real quickly. Just some of the topics so you know what we're getting to today. Also, I need to give you, what did I do with my phone? Well, that's going to come back to bite me in the ass. No, we should be fine. Because the reason I know it's going to go off, and then all of a sudden my computer's going to start ringing because I can't get to it, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
All right.
All right. So let's go ahead and pull up some of the headlines from today, and boom, boom, boom. Some Olympic stuff that we will get to. Oh, wait, let's do some Olympic stuff that we will get to, and as the Olympics end. And it's low ratings. So if you watched it, you're likely lying, or maybe you were one of the ones that did. Did you? How much of this did you watch?
I honestly did not watch that much.
Oh.
I just missed it this year. I'm sorry.
No, don't. I know. You know what? I was going to say, don't be like that, but I feel the same way. I want to apologize to the entire Olympic team. But I'm so sorry that I was one of those that didn't support you. I caught you a couple of times when I was sitting at a bar.
Right. I watched some at McDitton's on Friday night, and it looked great. I appreciate and admire what they do, and I apologize for not being more supportive.
Yeah. So we'll all talk about how they closed out the ceremonies with the call for peace. Transgender wins title. That's not an Olympic thing. That is a story that we've. Actually, no, I don't think I've ever touched on this story here. But it is a story about a boy who was born a girl. And sorry for my ignorance. A boy that was born a girl. So on his birth certificate, he is a female. However, he identifies as a boy and wants to go wrestle other boys. But the way this works in the school district, sorry, you're a girl. You're going to wrestle with the other girls. Well, she's won her second straight wrestling title now. She's like, come on. And no, she does not take in steroids or any growth hormones or anything like that. So we'll come back to that story here in a little bit. Also, Stoneman Douglas wins the high school that was the home of a horrific tragedy. Their hockey team just became state champions. So, and as a matter of fact, I believe they beat a team here in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll come back to that one. Oh, you know what I forgot to put in here that you had just brought up, and we'll make sure that we get to that here in a second, is that a crazy person on their way to Tampa. The reason I'm shaking my head is because how many stories are Florida centric or have Florida associated with them, one way or another. And so this idiot, I'm sorry, it's not fair. They were sitting on the tarmac for a very long time. And they needed to get off the plane. I don't know if it was anxiety, what was going on, but they couldn't take it any longer. Pulled the plug there that sends the door flying out and the
emergency slide.
Yeah, slide, that bouncy slide, and takes off. So we'll come back to that here in a second because I don't know the details of that one. So still, when it comes to the ban, or not ban, but the gun control issues that are swirling right now, more and more Republicans are getting on board, which is interesting. There's been the corporate backlash as well, but at the same time, a gun show in the area set records. Like it was, but this is what happens. This is what happens, and this is also frustrating to me because, well, I don't say it's not really frustrating. It's more. There's more emotion to it than frustration. Let's do this. What are we doing? Oh wait, this one here. All right.
There we go.
There's more emotion than just that frustration, because if you guys were watching the clips that came out of the NRA last week, or CPAC, I think when the NRA was at CPAC, a convention or whatever for conservatives, they there was a lot of things that came out of it. One was this one woman, dark-haired woman. I don't remember who she is and what her association with is with the NRA. But she wanted to slow it down because it was going to sound controversial. And she looked around and said, those in legacy media. What the hell is legacy media? I'm hearing legacy media for the first time. I thought it was just big media or, left-wing media, right-wing media. What the hell is legacy media? So she goes, let me say this slowly. There are those in legacy media that here we go. We'll go. That love this. I love these tragedies and seeing these white women crying on TV. Well, if you want to go down that path, lady, then there are those within your own community that love this too, because every time there's a tragedy, you at the NRA and people like you start saying that they're coming to get your guns. Obama's going to get your guns. Hillary's going to get your guns. And so next thing you know, the people in your world and your industry are just filling their bank accounts. So if you want to play that game, it's okay. It's okay.
I'll let you know what legacy media is if you'd like to know.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now.
So legacy media, I guess, is political speak. That kind of means the media outlets and print outlets that have been around for a very long time, such as ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, media that's been around for a substantial amount of time.
Okay. Thank you very much for helping me out with that.
You're welcome.
All right. Now back to what's going to be on the show today. Also, gun control support rises significantly, 18% in just a few months compared to these same polls back in October. And then we'll end the show today with Dobby Cat. And it'll put a smile on you. Well, either put a smile on your face or it'll make you, or give you this look. Because it's an interesting looking cat. And I don't know if it really meows. I'm not sure what sound comes out of its mouth. It's more of a honk than it is a meow. But we'll get to that later on in the show, just so we can have some fun stuff to talk about. All right, so Sam, tell me about this story coming out of New York. I wanted to Google it and bring up a news story here.
So it's on WFLA.com.
All right.
So from what I saw here, this happened late on Sunday night, so last night, at Newark Liberty International Airport. And this plane was a United Airlines plane that was headed towards Tampa International. And I guess this individual thought that he was on the wrong airplane or had an anxiety attack and decided that the only way, logically, that he could get off this plane was to use the inflatable slide. All
right. I found it. Now, you just gave all the details, so I don't know that I need to go over it there. But the reason that popped out of my head when popped when she brought it up this morning is just because it was another stupid story that somehow has Florida involved. Can some of you other states start getting I don't know, doing something? Here's what you need to do. You need to swat the nest, the bee's nest in your communities, and so that all the crazy people that live around you, start to come out into the daylight so we can capture them on video. Jesus. Are you from Florida, Sam?
I am.
What's it like? Now, you're 21
Correct.
Years old, so for me, Florida didn't become Florida until the Hanging Chads. The Hanging Chads of the 2000 election. So you would have been how old in 2000? What year were you born?
96.
So you're 4. Oh, yeah, you're 4 years old.
4 years.
I can't expect you to be able to do that math because you were only 4. But so you're 4 years old. But this is when Florida really, that was it. I don't know what happened up until then. We were, don't get me wrong. There were some stories that would come out of Florida. We'd hit the news here and there. But the New Jersey was at that time. New Jersey was the butt of all jokes when you wanted to you're throwing out a punchline, an easy punchline. You're going after a state. You went after New Jersey. Mm-hmm. But then the Hanging Chads. Do you even know what the Hanging Chads are?
No.
Well, let me tell you what happened when you were 4 years old.
Okay.
This goes back to the Gore Bush election. Mm-hmm. And it came down to just one county. We're recounting votes. It was way too close to call. Florida was the deciding state. Mm-hmm. And because this is, if I remember it correctly, it was because of they were trying to blame the old people of South Florida for not knowing how to punch through the entire like voting thing. So all these hanging chads, they called them hanging chads. I guess they weren't fully punctured votes.
Oh.
Came into play and da-da-da-da-da. So anyway, you know, the late night talk shows and, you know, how that stuff works are having fun with us at that point. But in the end, it was the Supreme Court that decided who won the election in 2000. Right. So it was a very controversial year. And from that point forward, it felt like Florida has not left the headlines. Because I swear it was like shortly, I don't know what came next, but I feel like shortly afterwards was like the Deborah LaFave stuff. Do you recall that name?
Oh, I do.
You do? You're old enough when she was hitting the news?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe that wasn't what happened immediately after 9/11. You know, so we had not, oh wait, so the hanging chads, then yeah, 9/11, but that wasn't, oh no, some of 9/11 tied back to us too.
Did it?
Yep, flight schools. There was one of them, I think at least one of the terrorists went to a flight school, I want to say in DeLand.
Great.
But I can't remember. It's a long time ago. All right, good morning, honey. Good morning, John. Oh, wait. Never mind. No, then I looked up here and let the counter realize nobody was watching. Hi. Let's get back to stuff you should know. Before we do, I want to say thank you to a radio show here in town that I do not know. I do not know them personally. And as a matter of fact, I feel like a listener, even though I did radio for 25 years, I feel like a listener because I don't even know which one's which. It's a show's called Roger and JP, and it's middays at 102.5 The Bone. It comes on like at 11 and goes till 2. So I'm listening to them today driving in. And I get a late start to my day. Also, my anxiety was kicking into, I don't know, well, it's Monday, you know? So for those of us with anxiety issues, I'm sure it's pretty common that Mondays there's an uptick in that. Mm-hmm. So, but it was kind of bad this morning for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. And so it was one of those things that it was really hard just getting moving forward. And then, the day starts happening way too fast. I'm like, no, I can't, I just want to be able to get on my computer, do prep for the show, get in here. And next thing you know, phone calls are coming in and the universe had other plans for me today. So I'm anxious to the point of agitated. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm coming in and I'm feeling pretty good. No, I'm not. I'm still anxious, and I'm getting mad at myself because I know what I'm getting ready to do. And what I'm getting ready to do is get off at Gandy on my way here and go to the McDonald's and get a hash brown and a McGriddle and a Diet Coke.
All right.
But I'm not even really hungry. I ate breakfast. I made 2 eggs for myself this morning. But it goes back to anxiety. And I don't know the root causes of my stuff. I'm still trying to get up enough nerve just to make a phone call so I can go to talk to somebody and try to, figure out something. And I'm getting agitated because I can tell it's going to happen. And then I start having this conversation in my head about, well, then don't get off of the exit. Just keep going to work. I'm like, I can't. Like there's this grip in my side that for whatever reason, I'm going to repeat the same pattern again today. And I have to satiate that because when I go put that stuff in my mouth, including the Diet Coke is a big part, a big variable in this with the fat and the salt and the sweet and whatever else comes along with it. So I'm like, well, I'm already late. I can't. I'm already late. I can't do this. But I do it anyway. And I can't explain why. I just can't. That's why I need to call somebody, make an appointment and let somebody else try to explain it to me. But as I get to the McDonald's, I start to smile. I'm like, okay, well, there's no line today. There's no line, so I can zip right through and get right here. Well, I'm sitting there at the speaker for like a minute. Nobody comes. And then that anxiety starts to build again. I get to the first window to pay, and there's nobody there. It's like another minute that I'm sitting there with nobody there. I'm like, are you effing kidding? For the one time, there's nobody in line. I'm still sitting in line.
Of course.
Then I get up to the window, and they go, sir, can you go park?
Oh, in those designated spots, right?
Can you go, we want to make you, we're making you a fresh hash brown. And I guess, well, of course. So I'm sitting there, and now I'm going, well, maybe I just leave because I'm way too late as it is. And I turn on the radio, and it's on 102.5 The Bone, and I'm listening to Roger and JP. They're just coming off vacation, and they're sharing their vacation experiences. One of them had a great vacation. The other one didn't. The one that didn't, and I apologize, I don't know which one's which. Do you know the show at all that I'm talking about? Mm-mm. Okay, because the one with the New York accent, the one with the real New York accent. So he starts talking about his vacation, and it was a horrible vacation. He was on a cruise, and that's not why it was a horrible vacation. But he was on a cruise with his family when he got word that his best friend, he's one of the, I guess one of those, I don't have this. I feel like this is, I don't know, an experience that I missed out on. We're guys that grew up together, like have stayed together forever, that they're best friends, and they, going back to 3 years old, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so one of them passed away, and he can't do anything about it. He can't get back to New York because he's out here stuck on a cruise. And he was talking about that, and he was, then talking about the memories, sharing memories of his childhood with this guy. And I'm sitting there because I'm so GD agitated at this point. I'm angry that I'm late. I'm angry that I made myself late. I feel like a piece of shit. I'm sitting there having that same conversation of why are you even alive? Well, you can't even do basic shit. You can't even drive to work without pulling over to a fucking McDonald's because you're such a piece of shit. I'm having that same discussion again with myself. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this guy and I'm going, what is wrong with me? And after I finally they bring the food out, and I listened to the rest of the story on the way here to bake more pies today. And by the time I got here, his anecdote, his real life story about a best friend that dies at 46. Oh, and there's another thing. I'm 45. I turned 46 this year, and his buddy dies of a heart attack way too early. As I'm sitting there mowing down on something that is not going to be good for me, So So I'm sitting there and driving in, listening to him tell this story, and still trying to come to terms. You can tell he's thinking out loud on the radio and feeling out loud, which is also very important because, 89 days out of 90, when a radio show goes in and does their thing. They're doing their thing. They're performing. We're performing. We're put on, there's a certain amount of authenticity that goes along with it, especially for those who have talk shows and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're kind of in you're more of a caricature of yourself, if that makes sense. But those moments on the radio, I think are the most powerful. Mm-hmm. when they come in and they're not on their game. They're not sitting there. They're ready to go boom, 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 joke, 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 joke. Next caller, let's go. But it's a real, genuine, authentic version of themselves,
Right.
And so I want to thank that show for putting that on today, because as I'm sitting there on a Monday morning, getting all worked up over nothing, literally nothing. So yeah, I know that I can't downplay what's going on in my head, because obviously something's happening. Something is sending signals to my brain to release the chemicals that cause you stress and paranoia and anxiety, not paranoia, but anxiety and all the negative, stuff that comes along with it. But at the same time, when you're going through that, how about this? It helped me manage it today. Instead of allowing it to spiral even more, it maybe kind of take a deep breath and reset and help.
That's good.
And then obviously got a good cry this morning, so. Now can you share a social or an anxiety story from over the weekend?
Oh boy.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to put you in your spot like that. I was just trying to take the focus off me for a second.
Oh, trust me, I have anxiety too. You don't even have to worry.
Yeah, that seems to be a common.
My anxiety's bad in large groups of people. It was my boyfriend's birthday this weekend, so we had a lot of people over, and I get more anxious in that type of setting. I like little get-togethers.
Yeah, that's my wife. She is not as, and just recently she's even realized it herself, and she's 31. But she was, I think, did I tell you this? She called me when she was in New York, when she was at her grandma's funeral, up there for her funeral. And she goes, I think I finally realized I have a certain amount of social anxiety. And then we start kind of looking back, oh God, it makes perfect sense now. But I go, you know what? You're really good in social situations. Mm-hmm. You are really good. And she goes, I'm faking it the whole time. She goes, my brain is constantly a place of how quickly can I get this conversation to end in the most polite way? And I'm like, well, you're really good at doing that.
I relate fully to her.
Yeah. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get to stuff you should know then. Start breaking down going through some of these stories today. The first up, you're talking about the Winter Olympics. I don't know how much you guys. Whoa, check, help.
Oh no!
Did yours go out too?
Yeah.
Is it back?
Hello. Mm-mm.
Yours is not back?
No, not in my earphones at least. When you tapped it,
something
did it. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't hear anything.
Oh, what the. and then you come in and you have to deal with the specters that are in the ghosts that reside back in this little area. Would you spend the night in here, back in this little area, by yourself?
I don't know.
I don't know that I would either. This little place, this place where they put the studio, it's a really cool studio, like a neat area.
We're kind of away from everybody else.
Very much away from everybody else. And it is all the walls are black, so it's like this little hole, this little black hole, this cave that is
upstairs and away from everyone.
Yeah, I don't even know if you really could find this place if you didn't know about it, where we are, which is kind of cool. It's like our own little bat cave or whatnot. But when I'm up here by myself, even in the middle of the day, and I start to turn things off, I have to make sure that I'm over by the door and the lights are still on. Like, if I don't even want to take 6 steps from here to the door with the lights off, because it's just too freaky in here.
That's why you bring the dogs.
That's exactly why. They're my therapy animals. Okay. Now we'll try to get back to stuff you should know. We'll start right here, the Olympic ratings slide. In the end, the final day of primetime competition for the Winter Olympics was both a winner and loser. On its last Saturday, the often tractionless Pyeongchang Games hit a new low, dipping 5% from the previous rock bottom on February 23rd. I feel bad.
And that was the closing ceremonies?
I think that was Sunday. The ceremonies were just a little bit better than the last ones, but overall, this was a big dud. A low for the Russian-based games in the early numbers. That was Sochi in 2014. As harsh as that is, last night's results were up just 1% from the final Saturday of Sochi in 2014. So that's about 3.3 million viewers. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's really.
I mean, I guess most television shows out there wouldn't mind having 13 million people watch them every single week. But when you weigh that stuff against the NFL and other things out there, that's nothing. And past Olympics. I'll watch more of the Summer Olympics than I will the Winter Olympics. And I don't know what.
Most people do.
I wonder if it's because I can't, not being from the North, I can't relate to any of the things that they do. I can don't get me wrong, when I see a snowboarder going, that's pretty amazing. It is awe-inspiring.
Right.
And when I see somebody strap on some skis and then go down a perfectly good hill at 1,000,000 miles an hour and then just launch, I think they said 3 football fields, like 300 meters. Is that right? Or is it 1 football field? Probably
3,
one.
3 sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that can't be right. Well, I guess we'll make this easy. World record. What is the record? Can I have Siri? What is that, the ski jump?
Yes.
What is the world record for the longest ski jump?
Here's what I found on the web for what is the world record for the longest ski jump.
Yeah, 253 meters. So that's 2.5 football fields.
That's insane.
Holy Mary, mother of everything good.
You want to hear something else that's insane, though?
Yes, ma'am.
So I looked it up, and The Walking Dead per episode gets more viewers than the Olympics does.
Oh, that's so funny because, I watched The Walking Dead last night.
I do also watch The Walking Dead.
How many? So what do they do?
So on average, it's about a little bit
About the
higher.
same.
Yeah, but there are some episodes that get 17 million views for The Walking Dead.
Wow. And I do really feel bad. I feel bad because those kids work so hard to get where they're going, and they deserve all the accolades and the appreciation, the praise, and our attention, I think. But it's just not, I don't know.
I think... Well, I was actually in Colorado when they were doing the pre-qualifiers for some of the Olympics, and it was really cool to be there. And I think sometimes people become less engaged if they're just, it's on in the background. But I'm sure if we were there in Russia, that would be incredible.
Oh, yeah. I also think that this is why it's so important to have stories. And I know this is, a lot of people hate this part of life. Like if you go try out for American Idol or, something like that, and you have two very talented people, but you have one person who's just whatever, they've had an average life, and the other person has these tragedies, missing a limb, and whatever, those kinds of things. They're picking the other because that person has the story that's going to attach. And so I know that they do the same thing when it comes to the Olympics. You try to find those athletes and create stories. And I wonder if some of this is on NBC for not finding the right stories out there,
or it just could be the athletes. Really, this is their entire life, and they don't really have anything else that, I mean, some of these are so young that they've been training for so long that they don't really have any other components in their life right now.
No. I don't know what I would like to see a documentary on what happens to Olympic athletes later in life.
We should make it.
Do they go on to excel, or they are so focused on one thing for 17, 18, 23 years of their life that once they get into the, quote unquote, the real world, that it's not as easy for them.
Some come out injured. Like some of the athletes I saw won't compete again because it's just so strenuous on their bodies.
And then you have to go from constantly having the focus and the mindset of a champion to God knows what. Like, well, now you have to go be average. What do you mean? Listen. You're good. You had your run, but you busted your knee at 16. You're not going to make it back to the Olympics at all. But you can, why don't you go down to the Wawa, put in an application and start there, or go to school and figure it out from there. So I don't know. That's very interesting. More from the Winter Olympics. The closing ceremonies. Pyeongchang Olympics have ended with a spectacular closing ceremony that once again saw athletes from North and South Korea marching together. Preceded by months of mounting tension between North and South Korea and the U.S., the games ended with a softening of relations between the two Korean countries who competed under a united flag. The Olympic Winter Games at Pyeongchang has come to an end, but the time of peace will continue, says Korean. That's exactly the way he said it. Korean President Moon Jae-in said in closing remarks distributed by the organizing committee ahead of the close. Calls for peace there at the end. I think this is a very fascinating story because it's because it involves humans. But it also involves the United States. So it's something that we keep an eye on because we could end up at war if we're not careful. But to see North Korea, coming together like this is one thing. There's others that want to unify the peninsula, and this is something I just learned recently. So if you don't know this, I'm going to share it with you. Not everybody wants that. The old timers that remember or were little back at the during the Korean War, or there at the end of it or whatever, in their mind, this was once a unified Korean peninsula. So we need to bring it back together. Well, every generation after that, it's not been like that. And so the kids in South Korea, or the younger generations in South Korea, is like, hey, we don't have to join forces because if we are wealthy, we are prosperous. And if we join forces with North Korea, we're going to start having to help out those poor bastards up there. And I don't know if we want to do that. So it is a very interesting dynamic. Next up on Stuff You Should Know. Is this, did you see this story before about the transgender wrestler?
I didn't.
Because
that's really cool though.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be politically correct here. He just won his second wrestling title. However, he was born a she. And he is still wrestling with other females. Now, to answer your first question, no, he is not on any growth hormones. He's not on any kind of steroids, anything like that. So, I guess physiologically, he still matches his birth certificate. a female. But for the second year in a row, transgender male wrestler has won the Texas. And this how funny that it's in Texas too.
Well, did you see on the video just now that they showed the audience and the two people in the audience were yelling cheater and like all this stuff at him? I just watched that.
Right. And he hasn't cheated. They take drug tests and stuff like that.
Right.
They've been testing him as well, so he's not cheating. But there were a lot of boos. There were a lot of boos when he won.
That's so sad.
Well, maybe they weren't booing him. Maybe they were booing the system for not allowing him to compete with boys.
I hope so.
Since this is the second year in a row that she has destroyed the competition,
right.
Well, bump her up a class. So Mac Peggs is 18, a senior from Euless Trinity High School near Dallas, entered the tournament with an undefeated record. He beat Chelsea Sanchez, whom he beat for the title last year. It definitely felt different, Beggs said. I felt a lot more humble. This year I wanted to prove a point that anyone can do anything. Even though I was put in this position, even though I didn't want to be put in this position, even though I wanted to wrestle guys, I still had to wrestle the girls. Video posted online showed a mix of cheers and boos from the crowd after Beggs' win. Beggs is in the process of transitioning. Wait. Is taking a low dose of testosterone. Okay. Well, there you go. Now, I'm not an expert, so I don't know if this affects anything. I doubt it affects anything, or they probably wouldn't let him take the steroid. However, if you're just an average parent, that's reality's not gonna. You're not gonna care. Science, it doesn't matter to you. You're gonna see testosterone and go, okay, well, this person is on steroids, and they're taking some kind of performance enhancing drug, and that's why he just beat my daughter. I mean, right. Sorry. It was his steroid therapy treatments while wrestling girls that stirred a fierce debate about competitive fairness and transgender rights last season. It has been a lot quieter since last year when his march to a state championship was dogged by a last-minute lawsuit that tried to stop him. Beggs had asked to wrestle in the boys division, but the rules for Texas public high school requires athletes to compete under the gender on their birth certificate. He entered the state tournament 32-0. Beat 3 female wrestlers all the way to the championship. Well, what I want to know is, I mean, low dosages of testosterone, that's still, well, I don't know. Because to me, you still could be adding muscle mass. You still could be, it still could be unfair. But I'm not a scientist. McNew said would not make Beggs available for interviews ahead of the state meet. Kayla Fitz, who lost to Beggs in the semifinals, said she did not believe that having to wrestle Beggs was fair. The strength definitely was the difference. I didn't anticipate how strong he was. So, these girls are wrestling girls all the time, and all of a sudden they wrestle him, and I'm not wrestling a girl. This is not a chick. Beggs rode to the championship last season, including 2 forfeits in the regional tournament by wrestlers who feared injury. Oh, so there was a couple that would even wrestle him. Beggs faced only 1 forfeit this season. The opposing coach and the teammates had insisted the girl wrestle Beggs, but she refused. So what do you think here? Should Texas relook at this and go, hey, listen, all right then, fair enough. You want to wrestle boys? Go ahead and knock yourself out. Go ahead and out there and wrestle boys.
Yeah.
Why not?
Here's
why. Can you do it the other way? No, you can't do it the other way.
I mean, especially if girls who are wrestling him are saying, hey, like, they don't have a problem with it. It's just that, and I'm sure that he recognizes this too. Like, it's not a fair matchup.
I mean, look at him there. Now, granted, it's not fair to sit there and look, but would you even think that was a female?
Oh, no.
No, I wouldn't.
But that's the whole point. And I'm sure that's his point too. He's like, I don't want to have to wrestle them because it's also probably not fair. And he does have more
There's a mustache.
Weight.
Look, there's a little mustache coming in there. So the hormones are having enough effect for her to grow a mustache. Well, I guess that's not fair either because, women can grow mustaches too. And if you watched him wrestle at all,
I mean, I'm happy for him, but I think that just for his own personal challenge too, I'm sure he'd like to be able to wrestle guys.
Right. Even if he gets his ass kicked, at least he's where he's supposed to be.
He can improve. All right. There's nowhere else to go at this point.
Yeah. All right. Up next on Stuff You Should Know. let's get to some more high school sports. And that is Stoneman Douglas. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas defeated Tampa Jesuit 7-4 on Sunday to capture the club hockey state title at Germain Arena in Estero, 11 days after a gunman killed 17 of their classmates and staff members. This is obviously one of those bittersweet moments for a school like that. After going through a tragedy, I'm sure this feels good, for a moment, for a minute, before you get back to the reality. Because I think it was over the weekend, too, that everybody came back, or those who had left stuff behind, they came back to collect things. I think that was like Friday or Saturday. Stoneman Douglas seeded a fourth, defeated top-seeded Eastlake 3-1 earlier in the day to advance to the championship. Stoneman Douglas lost its first 3 games, including to Eastlake and Jesuit, on Friday and Saturday in pool play. The league is sponsored by Statewide Amateur Hockey of Florida, not the school or the State High School Athletic Association. We all came to play, and this wasn't for us, this was for the victims. And then this next part makes me tear up. The team received 17 medals, one for each member. Players plan to bring the medals back to school and use each to honor one of the victims.
That's so nice.
It is. Man, I am. I am. There's something wrong with me today. This is my second time tearing. It's only Monday. It's going to be a long week. Wait, maybe. It might be that time my boobs are kind of sore too. Sorry, that was inappropriate.
You go to the courthouse too, though, so that'll also make you cry.
All right, I'm not as nervous. I'm more curious than anything about that. As I pull every stuff you should know off, what she's talking about is, I do have to go to the courthouse to get fingerprinted later. It's not what you think, or is it? It is. I'm through the company that I do the weddings and karaoke and trivia and all those things. Events done right. They do a lot of stuff with the school system. So he wants to get me run me through the background check so I can get this card, I guess, and it's good for a couple, 3-4 years, and so that I can wander onto school campuses. No, and do stuff for the school district. So I was on the phone with him this morning, giving him all my information, all the goods. And then he's like, all right, so you got to go get your fingerprints done this afternoon. I'm like, what? Fingerprinted? I guess they run you through the FBI. I guess I'm glad they do. I know the times we live in. You can't just have weirdos like me wandering onto your campus there in the middle of the day. So that's what I'm doing afterwards. I go to the courthouse in downtown St. Pete, and I don't know the process. I don't know how long it's going to take. It might just be I'm in, getting fingerprinted, and I'm back out. I don't know if they sit down and, run you through a series of questions or something like that, but that's also the reason why Joey and Roxy aren't here today, my dog, because I didn't know how long I'd have to wait, and I didn't want them sitting in the car there for an hour, you know what I'm saying, in downtown St. Pete.
Is this to do like proms or?
Yeah, well, everything, yep.
Okay.
Proms, homecomings,
prom season.
Yeah. I haven't done a prom in a long time. I'm going to say I used to rock, because when I was doing proms, it was only a couple years removed from high school myself. And by a couple, I mean like 1, 2, 3. So I don't know if I could do a prom now.
They're much, much different, I'm sure. They are very extravagant now and very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're at least my prom was at like a country club or something. Like all these high schools around, at least in this area I've seen, the tickets are very expensive, and it's at a very nice venue. The ones I would do back in the day, because I'm from Orlando, would be at your Disney resorts and their big grand ballrooms and stuff like that. So when I, back then, and these proms there'd be 1,000 kids, 800, 1,000 kids there. And I would, the system that I would rent, because I didn't own all the stuff to take care of a prom. So I would go out, I'd go to this production company and go, okay, I need these 4 bass bins, right? These just subwoofers that had 18-inch subwoofers in them. Plus I want stacks of speakers, and I wanted this truss, and I'd pick out all the lighting that I wanted. And just like the rental itself, I think was $1,000 for me. And then I'd only charge them because I was stupid. I was 18, 19. I was going back and doing my high school proms. I'd charge them like $1,400. So this huge thing I'd only make, because then I had to pay somebody to help me out too. I'd make like $200. So stupid. I'm such a great businessman. But anyway, so yeah, I might be doing your kids' prom sometime soon. That is I wonder what they look for in your background check. Why?
Because I have something in my background, but it's not criminal. Technically, it's medical. It is.
I'm not sure.
It's you know what the Baker Act is?
Yeah.
In the state of Florida, it's a forced 72-hour. We're gonna watch over you,
right?
Psychological evaluation or whatever. One of those kind of things. I do have that in my background.
How long ago was that though?
Yeah, I don't remember.
If it was super long ago, then I mean, honestly, I'm sure you'll be fine as long as you didn't do anything to like school children or anything like that, which I know you didn't. Then I'm sure you'll be fine.
And technically, okay. First of all, this happened like in 2012, so it's not that long ago, or 13. It wasn't that long ago. But the reason that I got Baker Acted is, they're supposed to Baker Act you when if they fear that you are going to do harm to yourself or somebody else.
Right.
I don't think that was the case. I don't think that's the cop was thinking that because I was exuding no signs of anything like that. I just wasn't talking to him at all. And I wouldn't when I was verbally. So when he's asking me questions and stuff, I'd do this or do this, but I wouldn't speak verbally to him. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it now, and I think enough people have heard the story by now. But so he ended up Baker acting me, which I'm glad he did because there was something wrong. And because my blood pressure at the time was 215 over 150, I think it was something like that. Mm-hmm. So then I'm at the hospital and they're going, hey, you should be stroking out right now. How do you feel? So there was something wrong with me. I just don't know that I needed to be Baker acted at the time. So I wonder if that ends up popping up and I can't do your kids prom.
Let me see, because they're actually, it's a pretty common Google search, so I can let you know. Will my mental health record show up in my background check?
That is.
See.
I don't know if I want to know the answer to that. I know I have to know the answer to that. I can't imagine it would. It can't. That would be against the law.
The director of compliance for active screening says that he's never seen anything like a mental health record in the normal course of a background check. All
right. So I'm good. So my crazy ass might be wandering onto your kids.
Doing the proms.
Oh, good times. Good times. Next up on Stuff You Should Know. Florida House Republicans are demanding the ouster of the sheriff that, here we go. Let's just get right to it. Nearly every Republican member of the Florida House of Representatives is calling on Governor Rick Scott to suspend a county sheriff for his office's response to a deadly mass shooting at a local high school earlier in the month. Let me do this. And Florida House Speaker Richard Corcoran, tweeted a letter he sent to Scott on Sunday urging him to suspend the Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel for incompetence and dereliction of duty. Now, I saw an interview with the guy this morning, the sheriff this morning, and he's like, this ain't happening. This is politics, and I'm not going anywhere. So I have no idea if there's a politics to play here or not. In the 4-page letter, 74 out of 76 Republican state House representatives accused him of failing to take significant action to prevent the February 14th massacre at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, in which a 19-year-old suspected gunman confessed to killing 17 people using an assault-style rifle. In the years leading up to the unspeakable tragedy, Sheriff Israel, his deputies, and staff ignored repeated warning signs about the violent, erratic, threatening, and antisocial behavior of Nicholas Jacob Cruz, they wrote. Excuse me. Now, Florida Representative Bill Hager, who signed the lawmaker's shared plea, also sent his own letter to Scott on Saturday to demand Israel's ouster. Hager pointed to reports that Israel's office received at least 18 phone calls between 2008 and 2017 from community members concerned about Cruz's behavior. In 2016, multiple people told the sheriff's office they worried about Cruz's cache of weapons. Do you say cache or cache?
I say cache.
Because that's the way you're supposed to say it?
I think so.
Cache of weapons. One caller told a deputy he believed Cruz could be a school shooter in the making.
Oh, that's nice.
But, I mean, with so many, we'll see how this plays out. But with so many, it's hindsight's 2020. It's much easier to look back and go, oh, we had so much information. But if you look at the laws and applied that information and go, well, at this time, there was nothing you could do if you went, by the law. But I don't know if that's the case or not. The sheriff's office has also been slammed following reports at least 4 deputies, including the high school's armed resource officer, opted not to enter the building after responding to the shooting. Now, this obviously is going to be a big deal if it's true. Also, I feel like it's a godsend, and I feel bad, but I feel like it's a godsend for that resource officer because, man, the focus was coming down on one officer because he waited 4 minutes to go in, which he shouldn't have done. But that all of this was going to be dumped on his lap, you know?
Right.
But you don't know what would have happened once he went in. You had no idea. So, but to see that 4 other officers might have done the same thing, at least we can spread this. I guess that's not, I don't know that that's a silver lining in this particular story. The sheriff's office announced Thursday that the agency was conducting an internal investigation into the deputy's actions. Israel defended himself during a heated interview Sunday with CNN's Jake Tapper, adding that he had no plans to resign. Quote, "I can only take responsibility for what I knew about. I exercised my due diligence. I've given an amazing leadership to this agency," unquote. He's also been outspoken in his criticism of Florida lawmakers, many of whom are Republican, who refuse to push for stricter gun laws. And this is why he's saying this is politics, because he is one sheriff out there that has been pushing for stricter gun laws. And so now, like I said, I was watching him this morning, and he was passionate when he was speaking about this. And so I don't know if he believes this or if he's just using this as a smokescreen. But according to him, yeah, he's. I guess this is retaliation, or this is an opportunity for political opponents or those in the pocket of the NRA to go after him, since he wants more gun restrictions. Quote, "If you're an elected official and you want to keep things the way they are, if you want to keep gun laws as they are now, you will not get reelected in Broward County," Israel said earlier this month at a vigil to honor the Parkland victims. If you are an elected official and you want to keep things the way they are, if you want to keep gun laws as they are now, you will not get reelected in Broward County. A representative for Broward County Sheriff's Office did not immediately respond. So that's the latest coming out of there, which leads us right into the next story. I want to check something first here. I might have to move things along. All right, yeah, we have to wrap things up here in the next couple of minutes so I can get some water. and then get ready for some live from the lots.
Oh, there you go.
We got some money making to do here in just a little bit. But let's get to this story here. Florida gun show sees record numbers despite gun control debate. I know I said something somewhat inflammatory earlier in the show concerning this, and I probably should have brought up her name, because I forget who it is now. But that she was all over the news at the end of last week. Dark-haired chick, I guess, but I don't remember her association with the NRA. But they were at CPAC, and she looked into the cameras, and she leaned in, and she wanted to make herself perfectly clear. I want to make myself perfectly clear that there are those in legacy media that love these kinds of tragedies. They love to see white women. I don't know why she brought white women into this.
Her name is Dana Loesch.
Dana Loesch. Let me pull her up. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about here. Oh, yeah, I didn't have to go too. It filled it right in for me. So this is her. Let me. So I don't want to put words in her mouth here. I don't want to put words in her mouth. So let's.
I like her book cover. Did you see that?
No.
Right there. No, the one on the left. Hands off my gun. I just like the picture. I think it's very funny.
That is something else. Hands off my gun. So she said she looked right into the camera and said that I don't know if this is going to give me the quote here. Anyway, let me paraphrase then. It was something to the effect of, "Hey, good afternoon, Lisa." It was something to the effect of, the legacy media loves this kind of stuff. They love these tragedies, and they get higher ratings, and they love nothing more, than white. Again, I don't know why she brought white, what race had to do with anything, but white women crying on television. I believe this. If you want to go down, you think you're so smart, lady. You want to go down that hole. Well, in that same hole are people on your side who love this too. If you want to make that argument that there are those in legacy media that love these tragedies because of ratings, then I will have to throw up my cards on the table and go, well, your people too, because membership goes up in times like this for the NRA, doesn't it? More people go out and buy guns and ammo during times like these, don't they? People like you will then know. And so you start saying that they're coming for your guns. Obama's coming for your guns. Hillary's coming for your guns. So, would you say there's an equal and opposite? Or do you think there are more people in legacy media that love to see slaughters? As we turn our attention to the next story.
Is your live from the lot at 12:30?
He's going to be calling me here shortly.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Yes, we got to wrap this stuff up. Thousands of gun enthusiasts, more so than ever, flocked to the Florida State grounds for the Florida Gun Show event. Organizers say they had record number of people attending the event on Saturday, February 24th, almost 7,000, and expected more on Sunday. They say they've never seen such a big crowd. Man, I wonder what could have drove such amazing numbers to boost capitalism. Oh, the slaughter of 17? Oh, you were 100% right. Good job. The company canceled the show in Fort Lauderdale next month after the mayor asked them to show respect to the victims. With the heated debate over gun control staying front and center, Fernandez expressed concerns over proposed gun laws, possibly restricting gun owners. I don't care. I don't care, sir. Next story. As we go to... What the... Support for stricter gun control rises 18% in the latest poll. The support for stricter gun laws has jumped 18 points since October, with 70% of Americans calling for action. 70%. Responding to the question, do you favor or oppose stricter gun control laws? 7 in 10 responded, said they were in favor. Oh, shit. I bet you my phone's in my car. Son of a bitch. All right. So that is that. And I'm going to leave you with this, okay? We're gonna leave on an up note today. Thank you, by the way, Sam, for all your help this morning on social media.
Of course.
As always, and we will leave you with something that is not so horrendous, okay? This is Dobby. No, I don't know if his name is Dobby or not. They call him Dobby Cat. I don't think that's his name.
His name's Teddy, it says.
His name's Teddy, okay. They call him Dobby Cat for obvious reasons you will see here momentarily. He looks like Dobby.
Hi. Hi. What's up?
And that also he honks.
Oh, no.
His little meow is a honk. First of all, he looks like Dobby from Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Hi.
He sounds like he swallowed a bike horn.
Okay.
Oh. Is that a second one in the background?
Yeah, that's the second one in the background with a little bit more of a traditional meow, as they say.
Oh, no.
As nobody says. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wake.Show today, and have a wonderful day. Or and always remember that no matter the news of the day, how horrible it is, how many things scare the crap out of you, very little of it we have control over. So take a deep breath. Realize you have control over very little in your life, and just enjoy. Thank you. Hold on, where's my clouds button?